Hi, this is Nancy at Notions, and today I have brought my friend Jennifer to play with us again.
Yay!
And Jen's going to go off-road with us too.
Love off-roading.
Off-road. So this is Crafter's Companion. Crafter's Companion that encompasses markers and inks and watercolors, and then there's Gemini. Gemini is all the die cutting and the foil press. And then there's Spectrum Noir, that's the alcohol markers. So they've got a really huge breadth of product. And we're going to just try to take you through, I think, 3, maybe 4 of them today, depending on how much time we have. So be excited. There's a lot of different things to show you. And like I said, Jen's going to go off-roading when it comes to the foil press. So this is the Gemini foil press. Jen, the Gemini foil press showed to us by Jen. There we go. I knew I said something backwards.
So this is, hi, thank you for having me. Thank you for watching. What you're seeing here today is the foil press in action. And what the foil press is it's an accessory to your Gemini Junior. This allows you to turn your Gemini Junior into a foiling machine. No laminator, no ink or toner. We're using foiling dies for this. And this is the foil press. It's a hot plate. Not so hot that you can't touch it, but it's warm and it comes with a few accessories like some oven mitts and some cute magnetic tweezers to lift up your dies. But ultimately, it heats up this die. And then I'm gonna lay my thermal foil, this is special thermal foil, down. Then just add my cardstock, my top plate, which comes with the foil press. And then because the Gemini Junior is such a high quality machine, all metal on the inside, we can put that hot plate right into the Gemini Junior, and this is what's happening right now. It is foiling just like that. Off
the reveal. Ooh.
And Nancy, go ahead and run your finger on that.
Fabulous. I mean, when you feel the difference, and it's a little bit debossed there where the foiling is on there, it is just absolutely gorgeous.
It's that real letterpressed. If you've ever had a fancy wedding invitation in the mail and you run your finger across the printing, that's what we've got here. Because the combination of the heat and the die, the pressure of the die and the ridge actually debosses as it foils. But I also want to show you.
Oh yeah, because Jen, I hate this waste. Jen, look at all this wasted stuff. Jen, I don't want to waste that stuff.
Crafters,
what do I do with all that?
Yeah, crafters don't want to waste anything.
No.
But because this is a thermal system, we're not relying on toner or anything like that. We can just take this hot plate, put the foil right down like this.
Right, this is so
put
cool,
our
you guys. Pay
on.
attention.
Now I'm going to put it, because normally, we're off-roading here. Normally there would be a die on this plate, which is going to help add a little bit of pressure into the machine. So I'm just going to shim it up a little bit.
Right, there's no math here. That's not like just 5 pieces of paper. No,
just put some paper on there and the metal shim that comes with it. That should be enough. Just so long as it's thick enough to get through the machine.
Right, and so here's the thing. With the Gemini machine, you can't really go too thick. So don't worry whether or not you've gone too thick. If you've gone too thick, the Gemini machine will stop and just reverse it for you. So just put on enough until you know that it's going to work. Might be trial and error.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We like to trial and error.
Yeah, we're not splitting the atom or curing cancer here.
We're not.
We're just crafting. So if you need to run it again, just go ahead and run it again. It's no big deal, and you can't ruin the machine. Like you say, if it's too thick, it's going to pause and reverse. No damage done.
We actually tried in a meeting to make it stop, and no matter how many things she put in there, it just wouldn't stop.
All right,
this
so
is
let's see.
so cool.
So now remember, that was that image. And so now, all that's left on my cardstock, and I can trim that up. And no waste.
This is it. Now that cover sheet on the foil is empty except this edges. No waste, people. This is huge information. All right, so now do one with your brand new black dies.
So we love the idea of being able to cut, because that's what the Gemini machine
it's kind of like you're multitasking with this.
Yes.
This is the woman's dream right here. Got it? I know I said it. It's a woman's dream. It is going to multitask for you. This is so cool.
So now you see this die here is a lighter silver. This one here is the darker charcoal. That's because this die is actually engineered to both emboss, foil, and cut all at the same time.
Multitasking.
That's right. So now, because we need a little more pressure because we're going to be cutting too, I've put down that metal shim. So that metal shim, it's getting hot.
That's warm.
Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. It's not so hot you can't touch it, but it's hot.
I'm not burn myself.
And now we're heating up the metal shim and we're heating up the dye. So for that, the instructions say let's put 45 seconds on our little timer here. And once it's totally green, we know our entire surface is ready to go. And so when I put that time on the clock, I'll press start and it'll just count down. And as soon as it's ready, it will beep. That means enough heat has gone through both the metal shim and the dye that it's ready to totally heat up my foil. Okay. So we'll just cut a section of foil here. Lots of foil comes with the machine, by the way. 15 feet on one of these rolls, which is really good value for foil. So again, when you're laying down foil, it's a little counterintuitive. I'm going to take a little nicer piece.
I usually do it backwards. And then
exactly, and then exactly. Then you foil your plate by accident.
And then it's a pretty plate. That's okay.
So really, what you're looking at here, even though we're looking at the gold, is actually that plastic waste, right? And that's the part that can touch the dye, because we want the foil, which is actually this part here, to touch our cardstock. And you can see I'm not just using regular old cardstock. I'm using great, like the pearlescent cardstock. This is the luxury mirrored cardstock. So more than just your regular average cardstock, the foil can go on. And then we're going to take our top plate, because it beeped, and now we're just going to run it through the machine. And because we're putting it through an actual die cutting machine, the Gemini Junior, we have the ability to now cut and foil and emboss all at the same time, making very quick work out of your projects. So now it's cut, and because we've cut at the same time, now it's all completely lined up too. So now when I peel this off,
it is so gorgeous. That is just,
it's totally
so that's
foiled.
On the Crafter's Companion on their luxury cardstock. So this is a mirrored cardstock. They also have a beautiful pearlescent kind of one. So absolutely gorgeous. So now for the bonus.
Now I want to show you, because we've cut this out, this still looks pretty nice, right?
It's beautiful.
So let's do it. Let's heat this up now. Put it back on there. Put some time on the clock. You just got to get it nice and hot. And now I'll just take that same mirrored cardstock, lay it down, and again I'll add a few shims so that it's nice and it's thick enough to go through the machine, because remember, we're off-roading here, we're not even using a die.
So these are your instructions. They're not in the manual, so be sure that you save this video.
This is why it's great to watch videos with you guys, because we're all real crafters. We're using this in real life, and we've discovered ways to make your products go farther.
Crafters know how to make the product really work the way crafters use it.
Yeah.
Jen's a crafter and a hoarder, so she's
right.
just like all of us.
That's right.
Okay.
You got me right there. All right, right through the machine. And so now it's using the hot heat from the foil press mat, pushing with the pressure of the Gemini onto that leftover paper.
We didn't quite center it up.
Oh,
right,
it's
but
fine.
You guys will get the idea.
Yeah. And
just the green off.
And yeah, I moved it a little bit. But
So
now
just that
no
plastic.
waste. No waste at all. So now let's say we wanted to do a little shadowed effect with the positive and the negative. Put a little tape runner behind there. And look at how that can pop off your page now. No
so
waste at all.
pretty.
I mean, all this foil was destined for the garbage bin.
No longer it's not.
No.
Tips by Jen. All right, love that. Now, not only does the wasted foil not go to waste, but you know that ugly paper you have in your stash because you are a craft hoarder and you just can't ever get rid of it because you think someday you might need to use it? Now you're going to know how to use the ugly paper with your normal dies and the foiling to make those now extraordinary pieces.
Well, so often people say like, okay, so you've used special foiling dies, but what about the hundreds of dies I already have in my stash? Can I use those? I'm going to show you how. So I'm just going to take a regular Crafter's Companion die. This is quite an intricate die. and I'm just gonna lay it down and cut it out regularly. And let's pretend this green here is just a paper, an ugly paper from my stash. In fact, I would suggest using the paper you never thought you'd use, the one in the paper pad that, you know, you bought that pad for the other pages, not this one. You know, so, but for whatever reason, we can't throw that out. It lives on the shelf for a decade, but because we think maybe someday I'll have a use for it. Well, now,
there's a great use for it.
This is what I would suggest do. Take that ugliest paper in your stash. All right, so now we've got this. Okay, now we've got this die. Yeah, this is the edgeable die. Look how nice and clean that cut, right, with the Gemini. All right, so now let's take some silver. We haven't used that yet. And let's just... So, this is how I would suggest using your regular dies with the foiling machine. Let's just heat everything up.
Pretty side of foil down.
Pretty side down.
And the cardstock down.
Yeah, and then I'm going to put a few shims.
But you're going to pick up some of that foil.
That's going to pick up just the extra stuff so it doesn't get all over my plate. But don't worry if your plate starts to get nicked up and dinged up and get some foil on it. This is the consumable. This is the thing that's going to show that you've got a well-loved plate. All right, so I'll put some time. Okay, it's green, so I can press start. I'm going to leave a few seconds on the clock there. I've got 45, but it probably won't take that long.
All right, and did you notice even how beautiful that edge die was? So Crafter's Companion with their edge dies. So that's going to go on the edge of your paper, the edge of your envelope, the edge of the invitation, and be absolutely gorgeous. Now you're going to take that fabulous die and turn it even uber fabulous.
And making use of the paper that would have sat on your shelf unused.
So the bride that thinks that she needs the perfect color, no you don't. You can use your ugly papers and then do it with this foil and then you can't lose.
The other thing I just recently taught a class and was telling people that sometimes they end up with big alphabet sets, you know, and then they've got a bunch of mismatched alphabet stickers, but they don't match, but they want them all to be the same, is to foil over them. Because you've got an A from this set and an R from this set. All right.
There, that's where you can see where there might not have been quite enough pressure.
This is where we need more heat.
Okay, but
let's just do it.
Yeah, let's
show people. Because see how I'm pulling it off and I can still see my ugly paper underneath? Let's just give that a few more seconds. See, I was being...
Maybe a bit more pressure?
But I also was kind of being impatient and I was kind of wanting to do it quicker than I probably should have.
No, we're going to take our time.
I'm going to take my time.
Put it on here. Tom can always speed things up if we have to.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to hold it here, and I'm going to put the full 45 seconds on the clock, and we'll play the Jeopardy music or something.
And it goes fast.
That's right, exactly. We'll cut to it. But I want to give you a little tip. There's 3 heat settings, both like low, medium, and high. I never really take it off low.
Really?
Just keep it on low for almost every job.
What about fabric?
Same for fabric.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. I've foiled onto, we can show you, like I've got, where did the ribbon go? Oh, it fell while we're waiting.
There is a whole bunch of instructions that come with it.
There are, and it'll tell you all kinds of different
combinations and
based on what it is that you're foiling on. Acetate's one of my favorite things to foil on because it's, well, obviously it's acetate, it's clear. It's not hot enough to melt the acetate, but just get that beautiful foiling on there.
All right, we haven't done any of that. Foiling on acetate.
That, you guys pick up the foil press and that'll can be one of your first projects you can do.
Noir on there, that would be so fabulous.
Beautiful.
Okay, we need to do another video with it.
Well, that's what happens, right? The ideas just build off of one another and become endless.
Let's see how we did this time. That's better.
Much better. Just a little bit hotter. And so now that ugly paper, you'd never know was that green.
And now look at it. That looks fabulous. All right.
Totally foiled over.
Tips and tricks from Jen with the Gemini foil press. They've got, you know, the plates that do the regular foiling. They've got the die, these darker ones that are going to cut, foil, and emboss all at once. I'm going to pick that up. There we go. So that's going to do it all. And then, of course, Gemini, or Crafter's Companion, have so many of their own dies. And you know you have them from even other companies. That's okay. The foil press is going to make all of them useful again. Stick around. We've got some more to show you.
Hi, everybody. We're back. I'm Jennifer Tryon, and we're going to get inky now. I'm going to both color with alcohol pens, the latest and greatest from Spectrum Noir, the Classiques and the Illustrators. Then I'm going to graduate over to having inks in their own little pots. And I'm going to get really inky with no pen at all. You're going to love these. All right, so let's come a little closer so that you can check out how easy it is to blend with both the new Spectrum Noir Classiques and the Spectrum Noir Illustrator markers. We're loving the Classique, the new barrel, the black that you're used to from Spectrum Noir. They come both with the bullet tip and the chisel tip. And they differ a little bit from the Illustrator that now comes with this brilliant, well, they all have Japanese nibs. So the Illustrator has that brush nib with that lots of flexibility you can see, and then the fine tip. The inks work together, all alcohol, brilliant for blending. So let's get some down on the page. So I'm just gonna lay down my lightest color. And what you want to remember when you are coloring with alcohol pens is this little mantra. And if you repeat it in your head, you will not fail with blending. Light, dark, medium, light. Light, dark, medium, light. And that's the order you're basically going to go in. So now I've put down my lightest shade. Light, dark. So now I'm going to go for my darker tone. And you can see on the ends, they've got both the color name and a number. The lower the number, the lighter the color. So these are all in the CR family. So I can go ahead and choose just a darker, so a higher number of that same CR. That's how I know they're gonna blend perfectly together. So now the stamp helps me cheat it a little bit. I can see where the artist thought the sun was gonna be shaded a little bit more, where the flower needed a little bit more dark lines. And now you're looking at this and going like, well, that doesn't look that great. Now we're gonna come in with our medium, light, dark, medium, and then we'll go back to light again. And now everywhere I put dark, I'm just gonna pick up just the edge of the dark coloring with the medium. So it's sort of just touching. And this is where the blending is gonna start to happen. Everywhere you got dark, you can now go add your medium shade, and don't be afraid to go right over top of that light. That's okay. Everywhere I colored dark, I'm adding more medium. And now I've just got a little bit of light left. So now I'm gonna go back over it with the light. This is where the shading, the blending really starts to happen. Right over top of everything you've done that's left, add that lightest color again. Until you can't really see any real distinction between the two. And now, remember, I'm coloring on the Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth paper. It's designed for alcohol marker, which means it's absorbing that ink, pulling it down to the bottom of the paper. So that's not an accident. That's the way it goes. And if you need to add a little bit more dark because you want a little bit more contrast, now you can do it. You can go over it as many times as you need to. If I was using regular cardstock or printer paper, this paper would have torn by now. But because the alcohol gets absorbed down into this paper, this is how you're able to achieve that seamless blend. Going medium again, and then back over it with my light. Look at the depth of color we're now getting here. And you never would have known that that was so, those colors were so different earlier on. And the same goes with the illustrators. I'll use some of the greens now to just show you the stem, but the same rule applies. Light, dark, medium, light. So I've got all of these DG colors. So I'll start with my lowest number of DG. And now I can use that flexible, look at how flexible this brush nib is. And I gotta tell you, the illustrators are such a great value. We're normally have become accustomed, especially as crafters or artists, to spending a small fortune on alcohol markers. That is no longer the case. These are extremely affordable. Crafter's Companion and Spectrum Noir do not think you should be going broke buying alcohol pens. All right, so light, now we're gonna go dark. Now, let's use that little fine tip because I'm just gonna go dark just on the very edge here where the stamp is kind of telling me there's some darker shading. So we don't need that big. And now medium. Let's go back to my flexible Japanese brush nib. I'm pulling out that dark shade with the medium, but preserving some of that light so that I can go back over it now with my final light swoop. And now this is where that blend really happens. Look at the contrast now we get from one edge of that stem to the other. This is what's going to take your regular coloring and really make it next level. Make it look like an artist did this. And even if you have no previous artistic ability, you can achieve results like this with this kind of blending, this kind of shading, all on your own at home using Spectrum Noir, both the classics and the illustrators. So once you've done that and you've got something amazing like this, why not graduate over to a few little inks in the jars? Now these are all water-based. So this means you can put them right on top of some of your alcohol coloring. So this is some of our sparkle ink. Now you may be familiar with our sparkle pens. This is that same liquid, but now brought to you in a jar so you can paint with it however you want. So let's just bring some of that sparkle right on over to our alcohol coloring. And I'll just lay that right over top. And because we're going over the alcohol, you don't need to worry about the ink running. You don't need to worry about it ruining anything. All this is going to do now is layer a beautiful shimmer on top of your already beautiful shaded coloring. And the longer this dries, the sparklier it's going to become because that fine mica that's in there is just going to get a chance to settle in as the ink dries. So let's let that dry for a minute. Can you see the sparkle already starting to take hold? We'll set that aside for a minute while I introduce you to some of the other inks in the jar, and then we'll come back and see that final. So we've not only got the sparkle inks in the jar, which are some of my favorites. I love the idea of using the sparkle inks as a background for some of your card making or your scrapbooking pages. Many people, if you've been watching YouTube, will be familiar with the smooshing technique or the packaging technique. I'm just taking a little bit of packaging here and dunking, put it on some of my, and then look at how we can use that ink. And again, all of that sparkle is in there, and it's a lot harder to do this with your pens than it is when you've got ink that's readily available and more fluid-like. And then we can even mix and match them. Let's put a little bit of the yellow in there too. I'm gonna give this a little shake up. They've all got, you hear that? Almost like a little nail polish ball in there so that everything can stay nice and consistent. Get that on my packaging, smoosh. This is just a really fun way if you're into mixed media or doing your own backgrounds, if you're a scrapbooker and you want to layer things up. Not always be using acrylic paints, or of course you can do like more droplet style. And what a great background. How fast was that, right? That's all with the sparkle inks in the jar. And it's all the same ink that you've come to love from Spectrum Noir, just available in a different format now. So I love that because I already know that I love the sparkle ink because look, it's now dried. Look at the sparkle we're getting from this. Are we catching the light enough? Beautiful. And the metallic inks. So if you'll remember the metallic pens from Spectrum Noir, these are some of my favorite for brush lettering. So I love using the metallics. So let's pull out the gold here, my favorite gold. And You'll be familiar with the brush tips and using these for lettering. But now we've got all of these same inks in the jar. Do I have a gold? There's gold somewhere. Maybe we left it over there. Okay, I'll take the silver, that's fine. Give it a little shake. And now we've got that same medium available in the jar so that if you want to vary your lettering size and go very, very thin and use a paintbrush, you can do that. Or if you want to go very, very thick, let's say, and do a whole background wash, you can do that too. Because now you're not just limited to the barrel or the pen, you can still get that look, that metallic, beautiful, inky look in whatever format you want. You could even do the smushing like I did. But these are these are gonna fly, I know they are.
And those, we've got the sparkle and the metallic, and there's the watercolor now that are in the little inks. So if you're a watercolor artist, you know what that liquid watercolor is going to do. So
very similar to the, yes.
Yeah, I think we took Jen through her paces. We've kind of done a little bit of everything. We've gone off-roading. We've come back to some calm watercoloring. So a lot going on with Spectrum Noir, which is Crafter's Companion, which is Gemini. So those are the three names that you need to remember when you're thinking about these products. So fun. Now, if you're a retailer, contact your sales rep. Get on the website. See what the products are there. If you have any questions. I've been watching really close, so you could even ask me if you had any questions. If you're a consumer and you're thinking that these are the type of products you want, you've always wanted to do alcohol markers, but the price was just a little high.
Right.
Keep in mind they also have the tri-blend, which is the light, medium, dark, all in one pen at an unbelievable price. You just won't believe it. So contact your favorite retailer.
Yep.
Jen, thank you very much for coming to visit
You're
and craft
so welcome.
with us.
I love it. And you can follow me on social media too. You'll find me under all the places, Jennifer
All these
Tryon.
things.
And all I'm doing is crafting all day, every day.
Jen going off-road, those
Love it.
things.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.